Good evening, viewers. Welcome to the Face of Friday Night. Peter Kivazo, your host. And yes, the table is full. On my extreme left is Charles Romshana. I said he has a receding hairline, either for wisdom or for the recess of that as well. Welcome, Charles.
I just said the open roof is becoming too open.
Well, it may be a pickup, okay. Not quite a convertible. And David Pulkol, instead of receding hairline, it's graying at a very fast rate. Welcome, David.
Well, that tells you. Yeah, thank you very much, and good evening, viewers.
It may be a feeding problem. And joining us on the show this evening is Dr. Patrick Wakida. Welcome, Patrick.
Thank you very much.
Patrick is from Research World International. He's the CEO there. Well, does that say he owns the product?
No, I'm a CEO. I manage. I'm an employee.
Okay.
Chief Executive Officer.
Yes. And viewers, today we, of course, I told a friend earlier today that I'm going to, among others, host Dr. Wakida, and he said, which opinion poll are you talking about? Looks like your name now is synonymous with opinion polls. Yes, I said none, and but we'll use a bit of that information that he has. Gentlemen, I come on the show today with an interesting week. David, I start at your party, where Dr. Otunu has indicated, for reasons I haven't yet understood, that he will not offer himself for the leadership of the UPC. Actually, he's letting go of the seat. The DP on the other side, Norbert Mao, on doctor's advice, offered to take leave of leadership for a period unspecified. In the FDC, there's been a transition that has been going on, and I know they have a new policy document, a new thinking that they've put together. It looked really rosy. I've been looking at it. It looks lovely. Someone delivered it to me today. I was reading through it, and someone said, but aren't these people becoming an NGO now? They're just doing colorful paper and what, and I said, well, they're a political party, but Ugandans want people on the stampeding the ground, not doing brilliant papers. But the question, with all these things happening, are political parties reorganizing as opposed to the NRM and gaining space, or are they reorganizing and losing space, or are they not reorganizing at all? Dr. Wakida, I'll start with you. I have said to you earlier today that, for example, the FDC, in spite of all the beautiful work, for me purely at the academic level, when I read these documents, they are brilliant policy papers. But I keep asking myself, how much of them get into the palpable feel of the voter in Namaingo, where Kaihura is, of the voter in Mburamuti? How much do they get into Rujumbura, where Charles comes from? And can they actually convert into a change aspect? Or are the parties alongside the NRM ebbing away quietly?
Let me start by, first of all, saying that we have a country with people who cannot read. We don't have a culture of reading. Mm-hmm. But despite that ignorance, we go ahead and criticize parties. I have had a chance to look at the DP platform, the UPC platform, the FDC platform. All show directions.
Yes.
But somebody will come on TV and say these guys are offering nothing. He has not taken time to read what these guys have written. Each of these parties presented a candidate in 2011.
True.
DP had a candidate, UPC had a candidate. For such people, would they imagine that such party is contested without a platform, without a manifesto? The answer is no.
Certainly not.
Now, FDC has been the majority party in parliament. You can even say that in the population, they definitely have the support all over. The challenge has been that when you're faced with a situation since 2011, with the enactment of this kind of laws that do not allow you to openly participate in an election, to openly go and organize the population, what option do you have? Do you go confrontational, or you change a strategy of approach to the population? And I have also said that in this country, probably the population that is demanding to know what these parties are doing are so impatient to the extent that they want this regime changed yesterday, that anybody who attempts to delay is seen as a weakling. I know for sure that General Muntu, for example, he has been going all over the country. I have seen that. I have seen Mao in the north. I've seen Olaro Tuno address others. That is the work of a politician. And that is where they should be judged. Unfortunately, they have changed a strategy where they do rallies without the media.
Really?
And it's a strategy that they are using. Because it's
Patrick, hold on. Doesn't that sound like lighting a candle and then covering it?
No, not really.
Under a tin?
Not really. Not really. If big rallies on TV were the reasons for changing government, I want to assure you that Besigye would be in State House. True or false?
Why did he have big rallies?
Because Besigye has had the biggest rallies in 2001, in 2006, in 2011. They were really huge. And everybody could see that. But they never delivered him to State House. So do you continue that strategy if you're a strategist? Or you change a strategy in approach? Let me tell you, I happen to come from a farming background. If rain is going to rain today, tomorrow, the other day, but on a slope, I want to tell you that after rain, when you go back, you will not find any rain. So you must create contours that can hold that rain. And I think parties should focus today on two things. One, making sure that after rain, the whole water doesn't go to the river.
They can hold the water.
They can hold the water. And those are the party structures. You must have a team that can help you do that.
Patrick, let me ask you before I ask the other gentleman in. You're a researcher. Yes. You have opportunity to hit the ground without the discomfort of a political rally.
Yes.
Are these parties actually creating those structures? Do those structures exist?
You see, in order for you to measure the structures of the party, you must call a delegates conference. Parties without structures will never call a delegates conference. I have seen UPC call delegates conference. I have seen DP call delegates conference. I have seen FDC call national conferences, call delegates conferences. Where are these people coming from? Are they mobilizing these people from the market? Definitely no. The challenge has been that these structures are weak. And that one we can't shy away from it. One, that these parties were created or have operated under a very suppressive environment.
Has that changed?
Wait a minute. That you get a leader of, for example, DP in Budaka or in Mbare, who is constant under threat by the RDC, by the DCOs, and everybody. Two, that kind of a person who purportedly is a leader will never get access to jobs.
Patrick, hold there because I need to bring in the other guys. But tell me, is this situation going to change?
Well, you see, I happened to come back in 2006, and probably I witnessed elections in 2006, where Besigye and Mr. Museveni were contesting. At that time, it was as poisonous as meeting a snake in the bush to talk about you being an FDC. And you know this. Today, you get people saying, I am a UPC, I'm an FDC. Now, that means that the situation is changing. But let us go back to the point I started with, that the need for a change is so much that any delay in it makes you look like you're not performing. But actually, in a measure of 1 to 10, you begin to see that people are moving away from the other fear they had. They are belonging to political parties. So that is not a mean achievement of this party.
Charles, this evening, at some time in the evening, talking about practically this subject, I talked to a few people, journalists, people that do marketing and sales, and this is the feeling that I got. All of them are resigned to 2016 being pulled off by Museveni, hands down, without a sweat. What Dr. Wakida here tells me, Patrick gives me the impression that actually there's been a change of strategy. And there is a lot of water moving under the bridge without being seen up. People are doing work, people are moving, and therefore they are actually going to rock the base. The people that I talk to severally feel this is a lost cause. 2016, Museveni will win it anyway. He's possibly at a fairly weak point, but the opposition is even limping worse than ever before, and therefore it's lost. Do you feel the parties are reorganizing at all? Do you feel they will offer formidable challenge to Yoweri and his group? Or do we pray for a fall of an individual that can rock the boat?
President Yoweri Museveni uses the political apparatus, the civil political apparatus, which you call NRM, to mobilize the population around the military. Because the base of his political power is the state and is the military. He only needs an organ to help him mobilize the population around the military. And that's basically the NRM. But in the NRM, he only needs three people, the chairman LC5, the chairman LC3, and a member of parliament. Because these have their own networks on the ground. And he needs those who have one, because you see, he's always in bed with those who have one. He doesn't actually use the structures of the party. He uses those that have one. And mainly at member of parliament level, at district level as chairpersons, and then the chairperson is LC3. But he got a huge contradiction that within the political party or that organization there should be internal democracy, which calls for primaries. Now, primaries in his political organization, his grouping, are a general election in itself.
Yes.
Actually, in the last primaries, they were even more violent than the general election. Now, in these primaries, those that appear to own the NRM own the election system, the electoral system. I will give you the example that there is no way you can come as a candidate for NRM in Rukunjiri Rujumbura without Jim. It's not possible because he owns that apparatus. You know, they built it during the time of Amam Babas when they were building NRM. So they built the electoral system and then they built the other systems. Actually, one of the reasons why he almost lost the second best, I think,
2006.
Was because that team of the Leto Apakaburos, the Sam Kutesa, the Chionga, etc., tried to block those who are their opponents from campaigning for the president. And that's why you had the Liomochis almost finished. The Jack Savities were literally thrown out. Rukutana, now the Deputy Attorney General, was shot at. Did you know that? That we have got an Attorney General who was shot at like a chicken thief. That's how bad the situation was. But there was a mechanism now later to reconcile with those kind of groupings. So what do you have now? The reality you have that you have got more independence than the opposition.
Yes.
That situation produced more independence than the UPC, the opposition. But the Amambaba's group, and I'm sorry to always bring in that name, I know it may rub some in the wrong, but it's part of our history. That they had moved to the president to condemn those who lose in the primaries and stand as independents. But I think somehow the president looked through it and realized he was going to be in trouble. So he quietly, clandestinely supported independence. So you have more independence than the opposition, but generally speaking, independence should be part of the opposition. Now, in 1980s, Uganda needed a militant.
Yes.
In 1980s, Uganda needed a militant to take on Obote, because the one who occupied the political space as against Dr. Apollo Milton Obote and his UNLA was a DP leader, Dr. Wanga Semogerere, who was a pacifist. but they need a militant, and President Museveni offered that, and rose the occasion. The 2015 situation now needs a militant.
Really?
Yes, it needs a militant. So there was hope in Dr. Chiza Besigye, he's collapsed. There was hope in Mugisha Muntu, he's collapsing. There was hope in Tinyefuza, he merited, I can't say he merited, like ice. He actually disappeared like dew.
Evaporated. Evaporated.
Because if you evaporate, then you go somewhere. For him, he didn't even evaporate because I don't know where he is. So
he's still there.
There is a need. The situation needs a militant, and that's why you have the opposition is larger than those who support the president on the ground. If you check out of every 10, you'll find the president has like around 3 or 4. Those who oppose him are more than those who oppose the situation. Because I want to think that he himself internally is opposed to the situation. Because he's one of the complainants against the cost of road construction. He himself doesn't feel it.
Actually, in the last election campaign, he ran almost like an opposition candidate. Everywhere he would go, he would complain about NADS, he would complain about the quality of roads, the quality of schools, and he was the chief executive.
So he's literally running out from government systems. That's why he's relying more on the military, etc. The security situation is getting out of hand. So so there you have more outside who are, you have more opposed to the status quo than those who support it. But they've lacked a leader to galvanize that effort. But his grouping, because the NRM is not a party, NRM is a state organ. It's an extra state organ. Actually, by the way, more funded than the other state organs. If it wants to hold what you would call a delegates conference, the money is available. But you would have the other state organs supplement it. Then under police, it has police as an organ, and police has crime preventers. General Karekiura is aiming at close 2 million crime preventers. Those are campaign managers. It's from those that you will get what you would call electro policing, the electro policemen at the polling station. And then you have the Minister for Security, who is in charge of the chairperson LC3. Because the chairperson LC3 is the chairperson of the Gomborora Security Committee and Gombora Intelligence Committee. And the chairperson LC3 works with the GISO. Now I tell you, in the sub-county, these are kings. Actually, by the way, at the sub-county, people don't know ministers. They don't know what this is. They know the GISO with his border with his motorcycle. And the chairman LC3. Those are kings in their own way. Then you have the civil service. At the district level, you have the cow, and you know the cow is in charge of the DEO, and you know the powers of the DEO over the headmaster, and then the teachers, because the teachers constitute the elites in the villages. Now, then you have the church, which is now part of the state organ. If you are a bishop and you are not, actually there are even bishops who kneel before the president for a blessing. They are all lining up for cars. It's really terrible.
That's an absurdity.
No, that's what it is.
We had a bishop in Moroto who told the president in his prayer to declare that there be factories and there will be back factories. And the president just laughed at me and said, I'm not going.
Yeah, so in other words, all in all,
during the youth day,
you can't have an election that is credible, that is free and fair, organized by this state apparatus called NRM. It cannot be. And worse still, where the president is a candidate. You wouldn't call it an election. So it's going to be something else. Therefore, those who are pessimistic are right. That the situation you are having is a coronation. That 2016 you will be coronating an individual called the president.
And Chaz, you do not share the view that Patrick here has, that actually, in spite of that, the wave and move for change is too strong for that even to hold.
But you see, the direction it is taking is the violence direction. The militants are going to take charge of this situation. That's why you see there is chaos in Busoga. In Busoga, they are picking grasshoppers. I don't know what they call them in English. They are those insects which are like grasshoppers. They call them in our language. These are big. It's like 4 times like a grasshopper. That's what they are picking now. MPs, they are picking sheikhs, they are picking sub-county chiefs. They are picking everything they're coming across. Now, if you stretch them to another region, what is going to happen? So you will have them, they are handling elections and then they are handling insecurity. And all these appear to be getting out of hand. The economy is not doing well. The situation is very desperate. Families can't take children to school. So you can't manage this, because the only way to manage discontent has been to use cash. Now there are even no structures to deliver cash. Whoever you will give a sack of money, you will take it. You remember how many people grounded up Range Rovers to keep cash in the
you have a grounded Range Rover in your compound. I need to check the tank.
Mine is one way over zero.
Viewers, this is the face of David. The cynical perspective that comes through Charles Romshana only ends up in one line. Charles is saying, yes, you need change. Yes, there will be a wave of change. But Charles says this change is going to be a military, violent change. Dr. Patrick Wakida thinks of a civil one, and he believes the wave is too strong in spite of the circumstances. David, you have even intimated to offer yourself for the leadership of the UPC. And I asked Charles in the week, David is offering himself to be the leader of UPC. To do what?
Boy, to do what?
To do what?
Actually,
because the explanations that I'm getting from Charles and Dr. Wakida, you could as well jump into the ocean.
Not at all.
Let me give you time when I come back from the break.
Okay.
Zing, the ultra-low-cost mobile phone instant messaging app, allows you to stay in touch with friends, family, and the world around you. Designed in Africa for the world, Zing works on most featured phones and all smartphones and actually rewards you to stay in touch. Zing is 100% free to download and has been cleverly designed to use minimal data, ensuring you stay in touch for longer. It's amazing. Zing is secure and encrypted, ensuring peace of mind over time you chat. Add some Zing to your life. It really is amazing.
Health Center Point Services tuli bakugu mu kujjanjaba endwadde ez'enjawulo nga tukosa eddagala erijjanjabira mu byokulya. Tulina ebyuma ebikebera buli kitundu kya mubiri gwo era nga biva Bungereza n'Amerika. Tujjanjaba endwadde ez'enjawulo nga sukaali, sickle cells, ania, abagwa ensimbu, pressure, cancer, abalwadde b'ensigo, abakyala n'abaami abatazaala, abaluma omugongo, okusannyalala, abaami abanafu mu nsonga z'amaka, abalwadde b'ekibumba n'endala nnyingi. Zange London Chambers, Wilson Street, okuliraana Pioneer Mall, room 14 ne 15. Tukubire ku ssimu okumanya ebisingawo.
The face of Friday night, Peter Kibazo, Charles Romshana, David Pulko, and Dr. Patrick Wakida. David.
Well, I think let me come into this debate from a different angle. I'm saying the current mismanagement and corruption are recent developments, particularly after the discovery of oil. We've seen more corruption and more corruption. We've seen more repression and repression. Now, in all these breeds something, in a situation which Dr. Wakida just outlined, in terms of the pregnant expectation of citizens in terms of change. If you go back to the mathematics and look at the turn up in the last election, you'll find that actually the turn up was very low, but President Museveni got 60% of that.
68?
Now, when you calculate that, you find actually the gentleman passed by 39%. Now, that is not something to write home about, because in terms of voice, representation, participation of citizens, Uganda is scoring lower. Even the war-torn Mozambique is doing better if you look at the latest World Bank report on 6 parameters in terms of inclusion, in terms of voice, in terms of accountability, in terms of transparency, in terms of democracy. Uganda is trailing the East African region in all those parameters. Now, yes, the surface may look good. On the surface, our economy is growing at over 6%. That's on the surface. Go to Kajara, go to Rishenyi, just go to areas in western Uganda, you find discontent. It's cracking. It's cracking. I think western Uganda is even more ready for change now. So I'm not surprised to see a merry-go-round cabinet reshuffle type, where you shift this chair from here, you bring Karoro Krut here, you put, I don't know who there, and so forth, that type of thing. You put a minister for security to be in charge of youth livelihood programs in gender ministry, for example, and link it up with GISOs, DISOs, PISOs, I don't know. So anyway, it's a different arrangement that I'm seeing here. I think Museveni is trying to respond, throw one ball up, catch the other one, well, the other one is up, and so it's trying to balance. And you see Kale Kahura himself in the woods of Namahingo, of Busoga, tussling it out himself, not even leaving it to sector commanders. Actually, the higher the monkey goes, the more the bottom lines become clearer. And this is what we are seeing here. So what am I saying? I'm saying that when you look at even just the recent standard railway gauge, Ethiopia is doing it at half the price Kenya. Kenya is doing it at $3.8 billion. Uganda is doing it at 11 billion. Look at Kenya, yeah, a huge country. Look at Ethiopia, mountainous and gullies and valleys and so forth. Look at simple, small Uganda, doing it 5 times more. The amount of corruption. So don't think citizens are just watching this thing. So the point I'm making is that I like what is going on in these political parties. Kizza Besigye has done an excellent job in undressing the emperor. The emperor now looks totally naked. By the way he has acted, he has made a big contribution to Uganda by demystifying President Museveni. The way President Museveni goes at Kizza Besigye with bare knuckle, he removes all the gloves. He goes native. Now, that has exposed him more. Even when he goes to court, he calls a bluff. And that's why President Museveni was trying to reward his friend Justice Odoki recently. He failed. Because Odoki will say, yes, this was violated, here was violated, but it did not affect the outcome of elections. And then it takes 1 year to come out with the actual ruling. Now, when he retires, now President Museveni wants to bring him back. But the pressure has been so much, and I thank Ugandans for really prevailing on the president so that he has to appoint the person who the Judicial Service Commission has ably zeroed down to. Now, I'm coming back to this point of change. So I think the leaders in political parties, particularly my own, like Uganda People's Congress, he had no choice. Because by next Thursday, it will be 13th of March 2015. The guy, President Olaro Tunu, was elected from 13th March 2010. 5 years down the road, he has nothing to show for it. And he feared the organs of the party. The day he would call them, he would be gone. So the only way he was been sitting on a time bomb, fidgeting here, fidgeting there, fidgeting here. But thank goodness, UPC will be 55 years old on the 9th March 2015. It was born on 9th March 1960. Now, as any mature party, at 55, you have grandchildren, you have children, you have assets. You approach at issues in a more mature way. And that's what I'm asking of UPC people, to approach this situation where we are likely to have no president to call the National Council and Delegates Conference. And I'm asking on them to go to court and get a court declaration to allow the organs to meet, because the person you trusted has abdicated his responsibility, either slept on the job. It creates an opportunity for new, young, brand new, and really creative leaders to come over. So President Museveni in 2016 will be meeting a different crop. So please give room for surprise.
David
give room for surprise. It's either going to be violent or it's going to be through a democratic means.
David.
And I will illustrate on both of them, on both scenarios.
David, hold on there. You see, when you say give room to a new leadership, this is 2015.
Yep.
In all the previous elections we've had since 1996, a year to the next election, there was a reverberation in the country.
No problem.
I remember in 1999, after Besigye's document, by 2000, the base was rocking.
A week
You failed.
Look, Compaire lost power just in 7 days.
Besigye, after Semogere resigned, you felt the pressure. Today, a year into the next election, there's been a romance with Mbabazi. There's been a bit of romance with Mbabazi. Will he not? Will he not? And he seems to be reading from a document that supposes a very normal situation like a Kibaki of some form that will present his papers. This is not the ball game I'm reading from this table. The ball game I'm reading from this table is put on your gloves and get set for the ring. He isn't doing that. It's a year to that election.
I hear you.
I don't feel Genomuntu. I had so much expectation in Genomuntu. I don't feel the ground rock.
Well,
Otunu has abdicated. My friend Comrade Mao seems to be dissipating and disappearing. Mbabazi is somewhere in the wings praying to God that a miracle happens.
And that leaves one person.
That a miracle happens.
Now,
then you have a General Museveni that is dancing. Bwana, he's doing a campaign against only himself.
I hear you, and that's why when the people like them take opinion polls, they come with a disappointing 57 or something %. For somebody who has been on a campaign trail since 2011, non-stop, whether it is a tap here, he opens. Whether it is a grader there, he flags up. Whether it is this and that, he's the only one campaigning. It is telling you. Now, but let me come back to this point, that the potential for violence is so high. But also, in a situation like this, then escaping the radar is so important, and therefore going under. Now, whether that is what Mugishamuntu is doing and others are doing, and then surprise him. Look, after 27 years of power in Burkina Faso, with all the regional influence he had, whether in Mali or what, he was a kingmaker in that region. That's Compaore for you.
Blaze.
But in less than 1 week, he lost power. Who brought him down? 23-year-old, 24-year-old, 20-year-old, 19-year-old. Those are the ones who climbed and burned that parliament, Chief. So please give room for, but that's not the way I want Uganda to go. But when I look at Uganda today with 83% unemployment rate among young people, it's a recipe. But let me come back to
very briefly. So
why I think the political parties need to organize differently. If you take the scenario that the change will come through democratic process, I can see those who have been contesting giving way to another group. Suppose this group came and said, for us we shall zero down on any other Ugandan who has never planned to be a president of Uganda, like Mandela. Just come for one term and go away and put the country right. Now, suppose, and there are so many of us who have been working in government who know how to run a government. If we got together, all of us outside there, and each of us goes to our home areas, where will Museveni get
and
this?
the if.
For example, if you say...
David, you see, the controlling word you're using here is the hypothetical
listen,
if.
Meaning, don't give it away. It is too early to say Museveni will get overriding what. Supposing, for example, we say, hey, you retired Archbishop of Church of Uganda, one Luke Orombi. Just an example. You bishop so and so. Listen. You bishop so and so is retiring, and you tell the cabinet.
Okay, David, let me hold you there.
And you tell the Muslims to provide a prime minister. I mean, it could be a scientist, it could be somebody else.
David, you go into a lot of hypotheses, but Dr. Wakida here.
Yes.
I have looked at economies that have oil. And one thing that comes with them is deep, grave corruption.
And indebtedness.
Yes.
Our
it spreads a lot of money in the economy that hasn't been planned for. And leaders that have had oil, between the discovery of oil and when they finally collapse, is about 30 years.
Ours is not even flowing yet.
Is about 30 years. It's sort of the lifeline of the oil and leadership. They've been tweaked to about 30 years. Check all the leaders that have had oil, and we headed there.
We are borrowing from China and Russia.
I think we want to understand the problem the opposition has faced. In 2011, you had an opposition that was disjointed. You had Larotunu running his own campaign, my brother Mao running his own campaign, and that Kizza Besigye on the other side, and that cost the opposition, northern Uganda. It is not that Mr. Museveni became so popular in northern Uganda to get that percentage. In mathematical terms, if you added the votes that Mr. Otunu got, plus those what Mao got, plus what Besigye got in the north, it would have put Museveni in a very dismal position, because that united votes would have produced a multiplier effect in a way of creating confidence in the opposition. Now, that did not happen. Our hope this time around is that they could be able to sit together and have a common platform.
Let me hold you.
Yeah.
Patrick. In 2006,
Yes.
without much coalescing,
Yes.
there was generally two candidates
Yes.
on the election trail.
Yes.
Chiza Besigye and
Yes.
Yoweri Museveni.
Yes.
Very much the same in 2001.
Yes. Yes.
You still did not return
You
a
see,
decent result.
I don't know what happened in 2011. I mean 2006. But you and me know that probably the winner was a different person. I don't want to stick on that one.
point.
But you and me know that that was a contested election. And in a situation whereby there is a contested election and nobody was able to investigate that contest, then we cannot judge what exactly happened. We may be having a leader who is leading the country without the mandate, because nobody investigated. At least in 2001, the guy went to court. In 2006, the guy went to court. And you know the judgment. The judgment was that actually there was a problem in an election. That's no doubt about that. It is in the hazards, it's within the courts of law that the election of 2006 was stolen. A judgment was put. The only technicalities that was introduced there was that we cannot know whether actually that stealing was substantial enough to alter the win. Now, you cannot use 2006. Now, let me go to a point I wanted to mention. I have asked all my friends that in 1996, probably I was too young, but I know that the opposition to Mr. Museveni was well over 24% at that time, because Dr. Paul Semogerere scored about 21%, and the total about 24% was an opposition. In 2001, that opposition went up to 27. In 2006, it went to about 40%. Has it died? Now, let me take into semantics and mathematics. In 2006, Mr. Museveni scored 58 of 68%. In the actual sense, his mandate for 2006 as a president was less than 40%. That is, in typical terms, was 39.4. I think, Mr.
Yes, but Patrick,
Yes.
that is not very different from what happens around the world.
You see, I want to bring you to the real problem of this country. The biggest problem in this country is deception that leaders have used. I was listening to one leader using the same word he used in 2006, changing the meaning, changing the wording, and using it again. Do you know that word? I left here in 1996. There was Ntandikwa scheme.
It's always to be in
It came into another word.
That's amazing.
Bonabagakawale. It has now been used. And you know, Charles, the biggest problem this country has is that
Let them use their language to deceive us, but don't use Uganda.
the state is using the most intelligent people to tell the lie again and again. And the most problems countries face is where you have these elites, being used by the politicians to tell the lie, the same lie. Do you know the difference between Ntandikwa and this operation wealth creation? Is there a difference? No, I'm asking you.
No, there isn't, certainly.
Now, if
All of them are
there
still
isn't,
picked from the same motif
why are you
over the
using
eradication action plan.
using the words really to deceptively lie to the
No,
people?
it is sloganeering.
And that
But you see,
that's where the problem is.
Patrick, the problem I have
point will
with
Ugandans wake
you is that, yes, this is the truth. What the ultimate point, the ultimate measure that can deliver change is not crying about what they are doing. It is being able to turn against those and deliver in spite of the situation.
Okay, let me give you an example.
What I'm hearing is the situation is bad.
I want to give you a typical...
You're crying out to a God.
Charles, I want to give you a typical example.
Viewers, I'm taking a break. When I return from the break, when I return from the break, I'll be able to hear from some of you on the line. The lines will be displayed so that you can talk to us. But I'll also go back to the table and say, what can you do under the circumstances that can actually deliver?
Zing, the ultra-low-cost mobile phone instant messaging app, allows you to stay in touch with friends, family, and the world around you. Designed in Africa for the world, Zing works on most featured phones and all smartphones and actually rewards you to stay in touch. Zing is 100% free to download and has been cleverly designed to use minimal data, ensuring you stay in touch for longer. It's amazing. Zing is secure and encrypted, ensuring peace of mind over time you chat. Add some Zing to your life. It really is amazing.
Stop chasing bonuses that don't last. Bonga Forever Ever from Uganda Telecom never expires and gives you up to 100% guaranteed bonus every time you load airtime. Simply dial *100#, select Bonga Forever Ever, and talk and text all networks with the bonus that lasts. Get Bonga Forever Ever from Uganda Telecom.
Uganda Telecom, Uganda's most affordable telecom service.
But by the time of...
Welcome back. It is the Face Off. Like I said, the discussion continues, and yes, we are live on Face Off, WBS TV. Peter Kivazu, David Pulkol, Patrick Wakida, and Charles Romshana. And you viewers are able to join the show. The lines are open. You're able to join us. Charles, what can you fundamentally do in spite of the circumstances? Because you're not going not to be cheated. The election was robbed in 2001. It was robbed in 2006. Possibly 2011, in spite of not being challenged, was possibly robbed. Some people have participated, but you'll have it and it will be returned and it will return a president. Can you cry about that? What can you do to actually, in spite of that, deliver an election that will reflect what Wakida desires, that what David Pukol desires?
You see, we can't have an election. Those who are thinking about an election should forget about it. You can have something similar
to an election.
In other words, if you take that path...
How can you use that something similar to an election to deliver... Let me take the caller. Hello?
Good evening.
Good evening to you. How are you?
This is David.
Yes, David, would you do that a little faster?
Okay. Now, I think the problem with our elite is a strong belief in a section of the elite group. Museveni is doing very badly. The truth is that Museveni, as a president, is not doing as badly as the thing. That's why the anger of the people, which some of you are alluding to, has not yet gone above the boiling point. It's still below boiling point. I think if the opposition wants to come to power, what it should do is to be strategic. But all these people I see are planning to go to... Since 1996, have been planning to become president tomorrow. If they had been strategic in 2011, 2001, I believe by 2011, we would have had a change. It might have been stolen, but
David,
it have created violence, a counter-violence.
David.
But today, DC thinking that really Museveni is hated or is not liked is a fallacy.
Thank you.
Done his homework very well. He's already with the people.
Okay, I'll hold you there. Thank you. I needed to ask him what is it that they need to strategically do that he's talking about.
See,
but
take a long-term view. That's what he's saying.
We we generally hold the view that President Museveni is tolerant. And therefore, we have these kind of talk shows. But after the banning of Masiro, if you remember, the information was, the propaganda was, mainly those activists from Uganda, that it's Museveni who had banned Masiro. What was his statement? He said, if I hear anybody say, I banned Masiro, I will, if you remember the tone. In other words, there are areas that President Museveni marks. One of them is sentiment.
Yes.
Can you generate sentiment? Can you generate, because what you have is discontent, fine, but it has not risen to the level of that high level of sentiment. And I saw it with Masiro. By the way, even the entire atmosphere around Masiro. This is not to suggest that the one who did so did it for that reason or was doing a study. So in other words, you can have a...
Hold on. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, good evening. Sorry.
So you can have a spark that can tilt him, can tilt the balance, the center of gravity. The second one was the death of Nebana. That his minister or his ministers were literally chased from the body. You remember? He was almost beaten. And he had to arrest minister and members of parliament, including now the new minister from Kanungu. He had to threaten to arrest the speaker of parliament. But that's not the Museveni you are used to. In other words, is the character you can throw off the balance. Now, they've killed more than 12 sheikhs. Nothing had happened. But as soon as they hit one in Busoga, the situation has changed in Busoga. You don't have the same reaction that is taking place in Entebbe. But in Entebbe, they also killed the sheikh. You remember? So in other words, there are terminals, there are nerves that you hit, and then you increase the stress levels of NRM. Because NRM knows, he knows with his military establishment, intelligence establishment, of those kind of nerves.
Yes.
Yes, hello?
Yeah, this is Edmondo from Bali.
Yes, Edmondo, how's Mbale?
I'm very okay. Thank you for bringing Doctor in the studio.
Welcome.
And thank you for Ramshana's comments and the rest. The only one thing which I want to say, Peter, is...
Damn. Sorry about that. I hope you call again. Yes, Charles, I need to hold you so that I come to Patrick and David. To Charles, we haven't touched the grave button. We haven't seen a Museveni that can rage. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, very briefly.
Hello? Good morning.
Please turn down the volume of your set. We are unable to hear each other. Sorry, please viewers, as you're calling into the show, turn down the volume of your set, talk to us on the phone, we'll be able to hear you and you'll be able to hear us.
So in all, Museveni is such a giant that if you want him to fall, then you use him. Trigger him to destroy himself. And that is the study. And the time that is remaining is a lot of time to do that, and he crushes himself. The only problem that he may end up destroying the country and will go 50 years behind.
Wakida.
Yes.
Having listened to this, I need, what is that trigger that you touch? In spite of the ground that you say is unfair, is rugged, is rough, to deliver an election to your whims?
You see, people use the obvious measure of popularity of a candidate of party. Let me start from that point of view. From the number of people they can pull in the crowd. That's the obvious measure that they are able to see that Charles Rumshana has got this huge crowd, therefore he's popular. And therefore, it is from that the perception of those who see that rally are able to make up their mind on whether they will support Rumshana or they will support Kibazo. In this time of politics, the NRM has suppressed that because they don't want the population to see who is popular and who is not popular. And therefore, Kivazo, as yourself, you are therefore able to say, I don't see what the opposition is doing. I think they are disappearing. But let me tell you, by the time somebody chooses to oppose a regime, that person has a resolve. Has a resolve to the extent that that person is likely not to go back.
Some information?
Yes.
Just in a second. You remember when they killed this kid at KCCA?
Yes.
There was no visible demonstration on the street.
That's right.
But the KCCA
Yes.
and the state establishment were able to determine
Yes.
the anger of the
Yes.
population,
Yes.
like by monitoring social media. And remember, as soon as the Mambabas declared, and as soon as the Mambabas, this crisis of the Mambabas, the visibility of the president in social media has increased.
Yes.
They are now specialists on social media. You know, there are various avenues.
Yes.
That's why our conversation here is being monitored in Imbari.
Yes, Wakida, very, very briefly.
I want to...
Because, you see, what you're telling me is what is pertaining. And
see-
I want to say,
you see-
how do you break that is pertaining?
You see, Charles, there is a time when opposition will never be stopped from political activities. And that's the period given by the Electoral Commission.
Yeah.
During that time, you can do whatever you want.
Only 2 months or less.
But it's only, unfortunately, it's only 2 months. But let me also emphasize this.
Museveni is campaigning all the way.
That the population should be patient and trust their leaders for what the leaders are doing. The leaders, first of all, for you to take over power, you must have a foundation. I want to assume that you took over power and you even don't have an LOC1 or LOC5 or a member of parliament. How would you legislate? You will be voted out. Now, let me tell you, the situation that we are seeing now from a political point of view is that by 2016, you are going to have more opposition. Many of them are going to be independent, but you are going to have very many opposition members of parliament opposed the regime.
And I think this is where I need to come.
Yes, David, as you come in, because you're really going to do the last lap of this.
Excellent.
What Wakida is saying is really hoping in a decent situation where Charles says, for as long as Yoweri Museveni is running, you're not going to have a free and fair election.
To throw light on those two options. First option is through a democratic election. Then I think let Mbabasi run, even if it means as an independent, and let the parties, the political parties, reorganize themselves and really be formidable and also target. And then if these independents, okay, plus the opposition parties, target Museveni's candidates for LC3, LC5, for parliament, including President Museveni himself, and coalesce and fund and support each other to reduce President Museveni's vantage in parliament in these organs, I think that would be excellent. It can be done if they can coalesce. Now, two, if the despondency continues and therefore skepticism that there's nothing you can do, and therefore the only way is through violence, then you must humiliate Museveni's military machine, including his security machine, which is Uganda's army. It's actually because Ugandans are the one funding it. But Museveni is erroneously personalizing it. Now, the honors is up to the military officers to choose which side they are. Are they on the side of the people, or are they on the side of the dictator?
Or
In
are
that
they in
case,
the middle?
Now, for now, are they equal distance from the dictator and from the people? Some of us are going into this process to bring government and put it on the side
Where
of
is the place
people.
of the legislative process?
Well, these are merchants now, for now. Those who are in parliament. You heard what they said in Chankwansi, give us money, we'll give you sole
Just
community.
half a minute.
These are just deal makers. And they're letting down the population.
Half a minute.
Push for a transition government, not led by President Museveni.
You're saying negotiate for one.
No, push for it. Push the population, the owners of Uganda. If you want to have a credible, free and fair vote, then you push for a transition government where he has no role to play. And
Is that achievable, or is
there
that in
nothing
your
that
dreams?
is impossible.
I want to sum this by talking about the new development. I have seen the FDC policy platform. It offers hope. One, you can see that they are able to articulate the ideology for which they stand for. For me, that's the foundation.
You're yet to see
Because once you know what you believe in, the reason why you see these governments are not doing what they are doing is because they have nothing they believe in. They don't have an ideology.
Don't they actually have very
They
good
don't.
documents?
I
and
want to
papers
assure
they
you
never really
that
refer back to?
if you have a paper like this, but you don't believe in that paper, it will never be implemented
Even
the
the
way,
Constitution
the way
is
you want
just
it
a
implemented.
mere
Now, the first building block is that to have something you believe in, that I believe in an education where every child goes to school, that when he goes to school, he learns, he gets skills, and when he finishes, he gets a job.
At 1.8
That is an ideology, and I've seen that being articulated, and I look forward on
forward to that Monday
I think
to
it's on the Monday the 9th. They are launching their policy in Serena, and I'm going to be there myself. I want really to see whether they satisfy what I'm looking
Tell
for.
them to wait.
Yes,
for
thank
the
you very much, viewers. Henrietta, Sean
I can give you this.
Mubiru, Paris North,
can give you to start looking
Umar,
at,
all of you that have been
this.
contributing on the other side on the social media and sharing the pictures of this. Yes, we've been seeing that, and asante sana. Been a pleasure hosting you here this evening, and see you again on Tuesday on Issues at Hand and back on Friday.
God is great.